A calm afternoon in autumn automatically changed in an instant.
As soon as it happened, everyone came running out of their house. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
They heard it, and we saw it from our SkyTrack camera, the kind of thing you sometimes see at Fort Knox. But this was a quiet Clifton neighborhood.
It's surreal.
No, it's real.
You check with fire EMS to see where they're setting up a triage at. I have at least 4 or 5 injured over here.
An epic explosion turning nearby dining into open-air restaurants, roads and driveways into a cratered moon surface.
It must have been some blast for it to hurl these like heavy metal girders at this distance.
Flying girders, then gurneys hauling those hurt to a level 1 trauma center. The injuries different this time.
It can be burns, it can be blunt injuries, it can be penetrating injuries, trapped by debris, chemical explosions.
And the aftermath looks a lot like a blast that killed a worker at the same address 21 years ago. This is Wave News at 11. I'm John Bull. We're bringing you new video, reaction, and fallout from today's explosion at the Givaudan Sense Color Factory on Payne Street. This is drone video right here after the explosion in the Clifton neighborhood. You can see the lingering smoke that was around for hours after the blast. The mayor says now at least 12 people were taken to the hospital. Investigators are still trying to figure out what caused the explosion and what chemicals were released into the air. Emergency management leaders were using drones to check the air quality. They lifted a shelter-in-place order after not finding anything hazardous. Now take a look at these pictures that were taken just after the blast. You can see debris and parts of the building that collapsed. Firefighters say they had to pull at least 2 people from under the debris and helped others evacuate. This is video captured by our SkyTrack camera right here. You can see the smoke coming from the building after the explosion. The 12 people hurt were taken to U of L Health and Baptist Health for care. U of L Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jason Smith says 2 of their patients are in critical condition right now. 5 others are in stable condition. Smith says there was a variety of injuries, including burns, blunt injuries, and people who had been crushed. Everyone also had to go through a decontamination process. That involves removing all their clothes and cleaning the patients for any possible chemical exposure.
With things like this, with industrial chemicals, while we train for it, we have to basically assume that they have been contaminated with everything in the factory or in the area where this explosion. And then after we decontaminate them, we bring them in for overall care from that perspective.
There have been no reports of anybody being killed. The mayor says Louisville Fire Department is searching the building and working with the company to see if all employees have been located. Now, the power of the explosion caused significant damage to the homes and businesses in the area. These are pictures of what appears to be a huge pile of metal that was blown from the factory into somebody's yard. And there were also several smaller pieces found across the Clifton neighborhood. Investigators haven't said if that flying debris hurt anybody. Take a look at this picture. It shows a missing chunk of Payne Street. The viewer believes it was caused by a piece of machinery that was found nearby. These pictures were taken more than 100 yards away from the plant. Windows are boarded up after being blown out by the power of the blast. The shockwave sent broken glass into several homes and businesses. This is what parts of Frankfort Avenue look like tonight. This was a powerful shock, both felt and heard across the metro. However, most of the damage impacted those who live and work nearby. Wave News reporter Logan Perone live in the area now with more reaction from people there impacted by the explosion.
Yeah, John, this is a structure that sits along the railroad here in Clifton in an area that's packed with businesses, churches, schools, and plenty of people, many of whom call this place home and tell us they're shocked.
I had just came home from work probably 20 minutes before it happened, and I was sitting there talking to my mother, and out of nowhere, a loud boom, and it shook the house.
Wednesday afternoon's blast shook Louisville's Clifton neighborhood. First responders evacuated the area, keeping home and business owners from checking on their properties until they knew it was safe to return.
We obviously couldn't get in for, I don't know, maybe an hour or 2. They finally let us in, and we were able to go up and plywood up the windows that were blown out and see what happened up there.
Businesses along nearby Frankfort Avenue were in the same boat, boarding up busted out windows and checking out the damage. So far, no one outside the plant says they were injured from the blast.
The impact had only affected some glass, and everybody was okay. So, I've got 4 kids and 2 businesses, and this is nothing.
For those with history in the neighborhood, it's a scene that's all too familiar. One business owner recalled 2 explosions at the same location, one in the 90s and another in 2003 that killed a man.
I'll bet any amount of money that it has to do with that ammonium nitrate again, because I know that's very explosive.
Cleanup across the community and the investigation into the cause will continue, leaving residents wondering what took place and how much worse this could have been.
You got too many people in this neighborhood. If it was something bigger, who knows what would have happened.
Now tonight, some of those families who had their homes destroyed are getting assistance from the American Red Cross. We're live in Louisville's Clifton neighborhood. Logan Perone, Wave News.
Thank you, Logan. Now, new audio is revealing how quickly first responders reacted to the developing situation. The first calls on the explosion came into 911 about 3 o'clock today. From there, first responders start making plans to shut down streets in the area and help those who are hurt. Take a listen to some of the scanner traffic.
Fire's probably going to have to find another way in. There's wires down everywhere, shrapnel from whatever exploded here. They're probably going to have to find another way in. Yes, sir. I don't have any fire people near me. Can you check with fire EMS to see where they're setting up a triage at? I have at least 4 or 5 injured over here.
This may be a massive event. I need 4th Division. It's still the 4th Division cars to help with this. 1st Division on the downtown areas just to block it off. And maybe, just maybe, I'm not sure yet, we have smoke going across the interstate right now, so I might need to stop it.
The mayor thanked first responders, and he says they took heroic action tonight. The Wave troubleshooters have been working to try to learn more about the history of the company that owns the factory. The site is named Givaudan Sense Color. It was previously part of a company called D.D. Williamson & Company. DDW had been in business for more than 150 years. Swiss company Givaudan acquired the facility in 2021. The plant makes colorings for drinks and other food items. And this isn't the first time there's been an explosion at that factory. These are pictures from a federal investigation after a deadly explosion there back in 2003. The records show 44-year-old Louis Perry was killed when 40,000 pounds of ammonia in a tank exploded. That explosion also caused a shelter-in-place order in the Clifton neighborhood. The U.S. Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board says the feed tank most likely failed due to overheating of caramel food coloring. The board claimed the plant did not have a relief valve for overpressure protection or even an alarm to warn the workers. A federal reconstruction team from Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is headed to Louisville to figure out what caused today's explosion. The sound of it so loud it could be heard many miles away. Take a listen to the video from the Deer Park neighborhood. Now, we had a crew way over near Mid-City Mall who says they heard the blast when it happened. We've reached out to the owners of Givaudan to get a comment about what happened today, and we have not gotten a response yet. City leaders say they're going to give an update on this explosion at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can get alerted to that update when it happens by downloading the Wave News app. We'll send a notification right to your phone so you can then watch it live, and you'll also be able to see it right here on air and on wave3.com.
9 hours in the bottom of a hole, a concrete slab, pinning him down.
As far as where he was buried just above his head.
Surviving on an IV and a heating duct stretched down to keep him warm, while rescuers remove dirt and debris, brick by brick, bucket by bucket. And tonight, a sight for sore eyes, hoisting the contractor up out of that demolition site hole. How they did it, how he's doing, and how it happened right now on Wave News at 11.
After falling more than 10 feet and being pinned under gravel, dirt, and large slabs of concrete, this man is pulled to safety at a work site at the former Community Correctional Center. He was put on a gurney right here and covered in blankets, put in the ambulance, and rushed to the hospital, where he is alert tonight. Wave News reporter Logan Perone has been at the scene all day and has more on how first responders made this remarkable rescue.
Well, John, this was a time-consuming rescue. As Louisville firefighters, they had to move in and get tons of debris out little by little. The fire chief, Brian O'Neill, telling us that this man was buried up above his head. Now, when we were out here, we saw crews removing the gravel, the rock, the debris, and we saw them doing it by hand and by bucket. We also saw that a vacuum truck provided by MSD was brought in to collect some of that stuff and make it easier to get to him. As for the crane that we saw and we talked about earlier, John, Chief O'Neill says that was used to set up ropes and actually get a harness onto him, which made it easier to pull the man to safety. During the rescue, which took more than 8 hours, the man was conscious and he was talking with rescue teams, and he was even doing what he could himself to get unstuck.
He was helping with the...
he was helping to try to dig himself out, and was able to, describe a little bit about what was going on with him. Was tremendously brave, but again, it was just it was a highly technical, extremely difficult. We've seen a lot of trench rescues over the 24 years that I've been doing this. I've never seen anything like this.
Now, Chief O'Neill also called the victim very fortunate. When he fell through the opening and then the floor caved in below him, he had a pocket of air. And that pocket of air, guys, it allowed him to breathe. Tonight, officials, they're not releasing any additional information about his identity, and we don't know what his condition is at this hour. What we do know is that Mayor Greenberg said he was taken to U of L Hospital, where he's being evaluated and will eventually be reunited with his family. We're live in downtown Louisville. Logan Perrone, Wave News.
All right, Logan, thank you. Now, the Wave troubleshooters found the Department of Codes and Regulations issued a violation notice at that demolition site back in October. In a letter to Complete Demolition Services, Inc., the city says 7 county fences were damaged at the work site. The letter says the damage did not comply with the Kentucky Building Code. It also reveals the damage to a cooler condenser and fence are being resolved by the wrecking contractor's insurance. The letter also says there would be a re-inspection to make the site in compliance with building and Metro Codes ordinances. Past 9 months been full of dramatic calls for the Louisville Fire Department. Started back in March when a crash left a semi dangling over the 2nd Street Bridge with the driver still inside. A Louisville firefighter had to rappel down to the cab of the truck and pull that driver back to safety. Then this Tuesday, Louisville Fire, some of the first on the scene of the Javatin factory explosion. 2 people were killed, but fire crews helped evacuate the factory and contain the flames. We have more on that story coming up in just a minute here. But then tonight, working nearly 9 hours, removing debris piece by piece to save this man trapped in that hole. We asked the Louisville Fire Chief about all these calls and the other ones that his firefighters have to make daily. This is what he had to say about that.
This is what we get this job for. Our firefighters are highly trained. They're highly experienced. In a heavy urban setting like this, unfortunately, these types of things are going to happen. Events are going to happen. Tragedy is going to happen. That's what our profession is predicated upon, and our people are ready to go into action.
The mayor also thanked Louisville firefighters for their efforts tonight. Once we learn more about what led to the worker falling in that hole and his condition, we're going to be alerting you. So download the Wave News app to get the latest updates. It is free in the App Store. To our continuing coverage now of the Javatin Sense Color Factory explosion. A group of tenants living at an apartment complex on Payne Street have had their building condemned after it was severely damaged in the blast. Wave News reporter Noel Friel talked with one family of 4 now looking for a new place to stay after losing their home.
The couple who lives in the complex tell me they have 2 young children. The apartments on Payne Street are directly in front of the factory and took the brunt of the damage in the explosion, along with other nearby homes. Now the family is searching for another apartment with no help from their landlord.
All of this stuff fell on top of me. That's the thing about it, all of this stuff.
Craig Wilson and Shelby Dix live just feet from where the Javatin Sense Color Factory exploded. Their apartment was torn apart by the blast, and now the city says it's been deemed uninhabitable. Wilson was laying in bed Tuesday afternoon when the debris from the explosion hit the roof of his apartment, causing the ceiling to cave in right on top of him.
Look at this shit, bro. It just landed right on me.
The next thing I know, there was a big hole that was all the way up there. Next thing I know, all of this is just like landing on top of me.
He stepped outside and saw what looked like a scene straight out of a movie. Pieces of the factory, like this massive piece of debris, had been launched into their building, blowing out windows and piercing through walls. Wilson recorded the moments after the blast when a power line fell onto nearby cars, instantly setting them on fire.
The fence on the neighbor's house is destroyed. The downstairs neighbor is back the whole apartment is just destroyed. All of our cars are destroyed.
Wednesday, the couple learned their apartment was being condemned.
They told us to grab as much as we can, which it's kind of hard when, you're living paycheck to paycheck to try to get a U-Haul truck to move all your stuff out.
The couple tells me at first their landlord offered to help them find another place to stay, but now the landlord says they must restart the application process to live in another property the company owns with an increased rent.
They're basically saying that we're going to have to go jump through all the hoops again. You're going to have to do another credit check. You're going to have to do all this, that, and the third when you just told me the first day that you had a place for me.
We called Property Management of Louisville, the company that rents out the property. When we asked what they were doing to help relocate tenants, we were told the company is handling the situation internally and that they weren't going to comment further. With their lives turned upside down in an instant, the couple is now figuring out their next steps.
I don't know what I'm going to do right now. You know what I mean? I have nowhere to go. I mean, luckily, I'm staying at my mom's house on her couch right now, but that's nothing for a family of four.
The couple has started a GoFundMe to help them pay for moving expenses and find a new place to stay. We have that link in this story at wave3.com. Noelle Friel, Wave News.
Noelle, thank you. Givaudan will be meeting with homeowners and businesses impacted by Tuesday's blast. It's happening Monday night at 6 at United Crescent Hill Ministries on State Street. Givaudan says it's finalizing plans to help homeowners and business owners who need to make repairs because of the deadly explosion. The facility also says it's working with employees and the families of those who died to offer any support they need. The mayor says Givaudan has established a number and an email that neighbors can use to report their property damage. That number and email on your screen. Mayor Greenberg says you should reference DDW or Givaudan when calling. We also have that information on wave3.com. Governor Beshear says he wants to get some more answers about Givaudan, about what happened on Tuesday.
We have two individuals who are dead, whose families are mourning, and a lot of others that are hurt. To operate where they operate, they need to be out in that community, telling people first what happened, or telling them that they're committed to finding out what happened, and then to be fully transparent about it, because we're certainly going to be.
That's the second deadly explosion at that factory since 2003. Mayor Greenberg says Givaudan should consider moving to a more industrial area, away from homes and businesses.
I think there are better locations in the city of Louisville for a facility like this. There are other locations that are by rail lines that are easy to get to and from, that are not in such close proximity to so many houses. So I think there are better locations to rebuild than their current location.
The mayor clarified they would like to keep them in Louisville, but again emphasized there are better locations. It took investigators 11 months to piece together exactly what caused the deadly explosion at that factory back in 2003. Investigators say Louis Perry was drying a batch of caramel coloring when a tank overheated and exploded. Perry was standing next to the tank and died. A report found the tank had previous damage, and a safety valve to prevent overheating had been removed. They also found the company did not have any adequate hazard analysis and no proper training for employees to respond to overheating. Debris from the most recent explosion still litters several parts of the Clifton neighborhood. MetroSafe supervisors say they've gotten 60 calls from people living near that factory about metal scraps or damage caused by the explosion. MetroSafe is asking people to avoid touching any of that debris. They need to examine it for their investigation. You can report debris by calling the number 574-2117. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms says it is reviewing security video to figure out what caused the explosion at the factory. ATF says its national response team is helping Louisville Fire and Metro Arson in their investigation. Federal agents are also interviewing victims and witnesses to try to establish what else may have led to the blast.